Hey folks, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this video. And this is Doug with News and Views by Doug. So for those folks unaware or just first time visiting, this is where I talk about my opinions and observations of world events, politics, and pretty much anything else I feel like talking about. And today, it's been the last couple of crazy days. We have President Trump in the White House declaring that there's been a peace deal agreed to with Iran, and that Vice President Vance is going to be going to Switzerland on Friday for them to sign this memorandum of understanding. But what did they do in the meantime? Iran was launching drones at ships in the Strait of Hormuz, and Hezbollah was attacking Israelis in northern Israel and the troops in southern Lebanon. Now, a couple of things about this. First of all, I don't believe anything the Iranian regime, the IRGC, has to say. I don't believe a single thing. The director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, came out and has told President Trump in the White House that they have, information and evidence that Iran's going to continue to build nuclear weapons in secret. No shit. They're not going to stop. And they may be even mining their own uranium because everybody was wondering where the uranium came from. But they have uranium mines in Iran. And they're going to secretly build nuclear weapons, which was one of the whole reason we were given about us bombing the hell out of these terrorists. And the other big reason was that they were sponsoring terrorism around the world. And that brings up another point. Iran has basically said that in order to get this peace deal going, that Israel has to pull out of southern Lebanon and stop attacking Hezbollah, which is one of the proxies that Iran has been supporting for years. Israel's not even in the peace talks. They weren't given access. And yet the United States is going to tell them not to defend themselves because Hezbollah continues to attack the Israelis. And the Prime Minister Netanyahu has basically said, nope, we're going to continue to do what we have to do to defend our country and our people. So do I see this peace deal going down? Yeah, down in flames. So yesterday, British Royal Marines landed on one of the Russian tankers that is part of their secret ships that have been transporting sanctioned oil to Russia. And the British Royal Marines, who you don't mess with, they landed and took over the ship. Well, word came out today that a Russian frigate basically did warning shots at a civilian yacht, a British-owned civilian yacht. What the hell? And it was right off the coast of England in the English Channel. So reportedly, British and French naval ships are revving up, and they're going to go look for this Russian frigate. So, what's Russia doing? Are they just trying to see how far they can push? From what I see in Ukraine, they're getting their ass handed to them. But they're making massive attacks in Ukraine, and Ukraine retaliates with their massive attacks. So the whole world seems to be on fire.
This is the ship that opened fire. The Admiral Grigorovich is the lead ship of the Admiral Grigorovich class frigates of the Russian Navy. She's part of the Black Sea Fleet and is based at Sevastopol, laid down 2010, launched 2014, commissioned 2016. Right here, this is the ship. So you can see its main deck gun right there. That is a look at the rear of the ship. So this is the ship that opened fire on a British civilian ship, sparking what is a mobilization of military forces. Now, what is that total and full response going to look like? We don't really know at this time. It is ongoing. Now, this is what the British did just over the weekend when they stormed and seized a shadow fleet tanker, which is the secret fleet of ships the Russians used to evade sanctions and sell their oil. So let's watch. You can see guys roping out. And then here they come. There they are. They're clearing the rooms. So them firing on a civilian ship is almost certainly in direct response to them taking the Shadow Fleet tanker. I'm messing up my words today.
You have still major rioting and protesting going on in Northern Ireland because of the immigrants, and they want them out. And there's also in England, Italy, and other countries that want these Middle Eastern and African immigrants out of their country. So it's only going to get worse. Now, word came out this morning. They had that big UFC fight at the White House, and it was Sunday for President Trump's birthday. And a massive amount of people were there. Well, the FBI announced that they have made many arrests on a group of terrorists. These were American terrorists as far as we can tell with the information given. And basically what their plan was, and they've arrested 5 so far, and there's 23, 24 more that they've indicted. And basically what the terrorist plan was to send drones with explosives into the buildings near the White House. And this would force a panic of people running out and right into a sniper's nest. While this was going down, there was going to be a second attack at the front gates of the White House. The FBI found out about it. They did their intelligence, and they arrested several people, and the attack did not go off.
Good morning, everyone. Breaking news out of Washington, D.C. on a potential tragedy that's been averted. The FBI revealing earlier today it foiled an alleged terror plot that was set to target Sunday night's UFC Freedom event at the White House. So, good morning, everybody. I'm Bill Hemmer, live here in New York City, trying to figure this out as long as we go along today. Good morning at home. Morning to you, Dana.
Good morning. I'm Dana Perino, and this is America's Newsroom. So nothing like a little breaking news in the morning. Officials say nearly 24 plotters were identified. They have 5 people in custody. The alleged plan featured explosive-packed drones hitting buildings near the event.
Then we are told they would steer the crowds toward a sniper team in waiting, ready to pick people off. The vice president moments ago in Fox and Friends talking about the foiled plot.
So much of the far left rhetoric is driving itself towards violence. It spins people up into these crazy situations where they feel like, I'm not going to argue against somebody, or I'm not going to debate somebody, or even vote against a politician. I'm going to go and commit violence. We're trying to look at the underground networks that drive towards this violence. 23 people do not get to the point where they're going to commit a mass terror incident in Washington, D.C. without some serious funding, without some serious coordination. And we've actually been trying to go with those networks of coordination because it's a terrorist plot. That's not a few guys doing crazy stuff. That is a coordinated, planned terrorist plot. Thank God we thwarted it, but we got to do more of that stuff.
I'm Matt Gelka in Washington, where new, shocking details are being revealed about a terror plot allegedly targeting the UFC fight at the White House over the weekend. Fight night at the White House was an apparent high-profile terror target. The FBI announced they foiled a potential plot aimed at the UFC Freedom 250 that featured President Trump sitting ringside. Trump said he wasn't briefed on it.
I haven't heard about it, no. But I watched, the attack that I watched were the fighters.
The alleged plot involved multiple waves featuring drones armed with explosives meant to scare the crowd. There were more than 4,000 people at the White House and around 100,000 at a watch party nearby, according to estimates. The plan then allegedly involved snipers targeting the crowd and a so-called second wave attack on the White House itself. Multiple arrests from a multi-state operation outside of the D.C. area, according to FBI Director Kash Patel. That includes 19-year-old suspect Tyson Proper, arrested in Knox County, Ohio, Agents have also seen chats in the app Signal that showed around 20 people could have been involved.
But, I keep telling you all the time to keep your eyes open. If you see something, say something, because we have all kinds of terrorists in this country, whether they came from foreign countries or it's internal terrorism. Michigan just arrested a bunch of Antifa terrorists. And it's happening. These people are making plans to attack federal agents, federal facilities, and just Americans in general.
Today, a federal indictment was unsealed, charging 15 defendants with conspiracy to impede or injure federal officers and other charges related to efforts of two Minneapolis-based Antifa groups that violently opposed the enforcement of federal law in our state.
It's literally, it's out of control. And you need to be aware of your surroundings for your family and your friends. And I just don't get it. I grew up during the Vietnam War, and there was protests and there was a lot of anger about the Vietnam War, but I don't remember many acts of terrorism. There was the Weathermen, there was small terrorist groups that were attacking, but nothing on this scale. And this country has gotten to the point of so much divide, left versus right. And in my opinion, it's mostly the left that's attacking the right. And how long is the right going to put up with it before they rise up and put down the left? And are we looking at a potential civil war in my lifetime? Don't know. We as Americans apparently like to kill each other. People say, we've only had one civil war, but if you look at it, the War of Independence, the American Revolution was a civil war. There was lots of people that were loyal to the British. They were British. We were all British citizens, apparently. And a bunch of Americans said, we don't want to be with Britain anymore. We're going to form our own country. And they fought against the Tories, who were loyal British subjects. So that technically was the first civil war in this country. By the way, happy birthday, U.S. Army. You turned 251 years old yesterday. So the second American Civil War took place between the North and the South, and that was over slavery and states' rights. And more Americans died in that war than all the other wars put together in our history. So are we looking at a third Civil War coming down, where it's going to be the conservative right versus the liberal left? I hope not. Hope people can become civilized and actually discuss things. But, it's gotten to the point now where if you disagree with someone, there's a really good chance, instead of just talking it out, the yelling and screaming begins, or they're going to pull out a knife or a gun and try to off you because they don't agree with you. So, folks, I just talk it out. Be safe. Stay out of trouble. Be aware of your surroundings. Again, if you see something, say something. There's a lot of violent things going on out there. God bless you and God bless America. Take care.